So you mentioned the Big Bang. And so
Yeah.
this is the last big question, then I'll get to my other last big question. Um, so there's a Midrash which talks about the first letter of Torah, of the of the book of Genesis, and which I shared with you before, which the first letter of Torah is Bet, in the word Bereshit, which is typically translated as in the beginning. And the Bet letter is closed on the top and closed on its bottom and closed on its back side, like where the line begins, but it's open into the rest of the word and into the rest of the text. So our sages, the rabbinic sages of old, or some clever rabbinic sage of old, said, "Isn't that interesting? That the whole Torah, the whole Bible, begins with Bereshit, with that one letter, and that the letter that begins with the words in the beginning." And so this sage, he or she, playing with that shape, says that this teaches that we should not explore the heavens above because the letter's closed on the top. And we should not explore the deep below, the deep earth below us, nor should we explore what came before because it's closed and its backside, and that we should only move forward. And so you, as we have discussed, you do explore the heavens above, and you do, by exploring the heavens above, you explore what came before. What does this teach us, do you think, about I don't know, seeking to accrue abstruse, abstract knowledge? What does this midrash teach us about the kind of scientific explorations that you have been involved in for your career?
You know, I actually think that, there's a real parallel between sort of what science is doing and what you just described, in the sense that, we like when we look at the early universe and we see the first stars and galaxies form, the first light of the universe, we literally call it the first light. First light,
Mhm.
generally what we're talking about is when the universe was about 300 million years old, which is, I mean, we've seen maybe 290 million after what we call the Big Bang. And then, previously people have found some remnants of what they call the Big Bang, that, the cosmic microwave background, which is this microwave light. But the truth is that, I mean, first of all, I think some people misconceive what the Big Bang is. I mean, the best we understand about the Big Bang is there was some rapid expansion in an
Mhm.
incredibly small amount of time. I think it's like, like 10 to the minus 33rd seconds. There was this humongous stretching of the universe. But an important point is that physicists will always say, we can't study the point before that because it's a singularity. They use the word singularity. And singularity, infinity is a singularity. These are things you can't know, you can't study. You get to a point where you can't know it. Black holes, by the way, interestingly, at their core are sort of singularities. And it could be that our universe itself is a black hole. Um, and even if there was time before that, like even if there was something called a multiverse, where universes are formed at black holes and there's many over time, at some point you get back to the point where you get to a singularity. You just can't go
Right.
back any further. And so
Mhm.
that singularity, to me, and that thing that's infinite, is a lot like thinking about God. And you can't know God. And I think that's what they're talking about in Bereshit there in the beginning, is like, you can't go farther back in time. You can't know how this was all created. It's unknowable.
Right.
Um, and now weirdly, quantum physics actually allows for, they call it something out of nothingness. In
Yeah.
this, in the vacuum of space, which is a little bit like what, if you read the beginning of Bereshit, like kind of what they're talking about, darkness and all, you can actually have all of a sudden a photon of light appear out of nothing because the vacuum
That's
allows for that.
creation ex nihilo.
Yeah. However, you'd still ask the question, well, why are these laws of physics? why do the laws of physics even exist? Why is it even possible that out of a vacuum you can have a photon? Where did that all come from? And so I think at some point you do get to a point where things are unknowable, um,
Right.
and we may be changing. Physics and studying the stuff may change how far we can go, but at some point you get to the singularity.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm just thinking, I don't know, and it's fascinating, but it's just like question of degree. We know more now, thanks to people like you. We know more now. We see more and we know more, but it's just a question of degree.
yeah,
Like, in order to get to the singularity like that, that is no, that I'm going to assume that that is the unknowable point. And over the course of, centuries, we get closer and closer and further up and further down and further out, uh, in every kind of science and every kind of knowledge. But it's just a question of, like, from God's perspective, I would say, from God's perspective, it's just like a parlor game. And no matter how much we will know, even millennia in the future, God's going to be like, okay, but okay, my children. And yet you're not even close.
yeah. I
That's
mean, how close can you get to infinity?
right, right, right. Yeah,
You might be halfway there, but you still got infinity to go.
right, exactly. Yes. I learned
Yeah.
that from that movie with Meg Ryan and Walter Matthau. I forget what it was called. Okay.
Spent a career working on space telescopes, and yeah. So
That's amazing. I remember I've known listeners. I have known Lee Feinberg for a long time. So I remember when you were working on that issue with the Hubble telescope. That took a long time to solve. Was that frustrating?
no, I mean, it compared to how long Webb took to build, it wasn't very
Uh-huh.
long actually. It was, all these things were very intense. It was, worked really hard, but no, no, I mean, it was things were moving too fast to even think about what was happening.
Uh-huh. Right. You just go in there day after day and you're like, we're going to methodically figure this out and it will ultimately get solved. Is that sort of the attitude?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. You approach things multiple ways and have some backup plans, and you just
Right.
step by step. That's what it's all about. Is
Right. Yeah.
solve this problem and go on to the next one.
Right.